Some of the world's most critical decisions aren't made on a battlefield, but in a courtroom. Life, liberty, justice, it all hangs in the balance, and it often comes down to the strength of an argument. So where do the people who make those arguments actually train? How do you possibly prepare for that kind of pressure? Well, the answer might surprise you. It's in a simulated world, a place designed to forge real-world advocates.
So let's start with an impossible choice. Picture this. Dr. Jones works at the only hospital in the area. 2 premature babies need the one life support machine available to survive. Baby X is on the machine, but their chances are really small. Then baby Y arrives, who is much more viable, but needs that machine right now. Dr. Jones has no time to consult. He makes a call. He takes the less viable baby X off the machine to save baby Y. Baby X dies. And then 5 days later, baby Y dies too. The doctor is convicted of murder.
Okay, just pause for a second. Put yourself in those shoes. You're the lawyer now, and you have to appeal this conviction. What's your first move? Where do you even begin to build a defense for a decision that had no right answer?
This kind of gut-wrenching scenario, it's not just a thought experiment. It's exactly the sort of complex, messy legal problem that forms the bedrock of a lawyer's training. It's designed to push the absolute boundaries of the law. But the place where students first tackle this kind of case, well, it's probably not what you'd expect.
Because before a lawyer ever steps foot into a real court of appeal, they spend hours and hours in a simulated one. It's a place that's built to test their courage, sharpen their skills, and get them ready for the immense pressure of the real world.
So welcome to the world of mooting. This is the arena, the legal gym, where law students go head-to-head. And they're not arguing about facts, who did what when. They're battling over these really tricky, debatable points of law. It's where all that dense theory meets real-world practice in the most intense way possible.
So what is mooting, exactly? Well, at its core, it's basically a mock court hearing. Students get a case problem, like the one with Dr. Jones, that's already been decided. And their job is to argue for or against an appeal based only on points of law.
And honestly, this is the perfect way to think about it, right? A pilot would never fly a jumbo jet without spending hundreds of hours in a simulator practicing for emergencies and just mastering the controls. Mooting is exactly that. It lets students crash and burn, make mistakes, and learn how to fly through turbulence in a totally safe environment, so they're ready when the stakes are real.
And the skills you develop go way beyond just public speaking. Mooting builds a whole arsenal. It all starts with really deep legal research. Then you have to build an argument that's just logically airtight. But it's also about advocacy, the art of persuasion. And maybe most important, it's about responding under pressure. Because when a judge interrupts you with a tough question, your entire case can hang on how you answer. All of that together builds the kind of rock-solid confidence every great lawyer needs.
Okay, so how do you get from that tragic story about Dr. Jones to a polished legal argument that's ready for court? Well, it's a super rigorous, methodical process that turns raw, messy facts into a powerful legal framework.
The whole journey starts with analyzing the facts. Every single word matters. From there, it's a deep dive into the library or, let's be real, online legal databases, hunting for precedents and laws that can support your case. And finally, you take all that research and distill it down into what's called a skeleton argument, which is basically the logical backbone of your case.
And the research is no joke. We are talking about dense books on criminal law, which covers crimes, tort law, which deals with things like negligence, and even really heavy constitutional law. Students basically have to become mini experts in a very specific area of law, and they often have to do it in just a few weeks. And right here, you can see that whole transformation in action. On one side, you have the raw emotional facts of the case, and on the other, you have the end result of all that work. The skeleton argument. It's clean, it's structured, and it's full of legal authorities. It takes the messy human problem and translates it into the precise language of the law. So once all the prep work is done, it's showtime. This is where all the research and writing gets put to the ultimate test, in front of a judge who's literally trained to pick your argument apart. And this isn't just a one-off event. Oh no, it's a full-on tournament. Students compete in multiple rounds, spread out over months, moving up from preliminaries to the quarterfinals, the semis, and then the grand final. And each round brings a brand new case, a new challenge.
When you finally stand up to speak, it all begins with this formal address. Every little detail matters, from how you talk to the judge, to your posture, to your tone of voice.
This tradition, this etiquette, it's not just for show. It's about showing deep respect for the court and for the entire legal process. It's a performance that's grounded in centuries of history.
So, after all that work, what's the real point? Is it just about winning the fictional case for Dr. Jones? The true value of mooting actually goes much, much deeper than just a simple win or a loss.
And this really gets to the heart of it. Here's the secret. You can actually lose the case, but win the moot. The judge might not agree with your side of the law, but they can be totally blown away by the quality of your research, the structure of your argument, and your skill in presenting it. It turns out the process is way more important than the outcome.
Because the real victory here isn't a trophy. It's not a favorable verdict in a made-up case. It's the fundamental rewiring of your brain to think like a lawyer, to take a complex problem, build a logical argument out of chaos, and persuasively fight for a cause. It's about earning the confidence to stand your ground and the real-world skills to one day stand up for a real client when everything is on the line.
And that brings us all the way back to cases like Dr. Jones's. Mooting forces students to argue both sides, to find the legal strength in positions they might not personally agree with. Which leaves us with a final question to think about. In the practice of law and maybe in life, what really matters more? Crafting the argument that wins or searching for the one that's right?